Last April, we dived right into the chaos of New Delhi. Day and night, ambulances race through the city. The capital has become a gigantic bonfire. Everywhere, bodies are cremated. This crematorium operates 24 hours a day for 10 days. Raman Singh is a student and volunteer. Since the beginning of the COVID crisis, he has been helping the poorest families, carrying wood that will be used to burn bodies and offering his support.
Side ho ji, please, side ho ji. आपकी माता जी की नहीं वाइफ इनके वाइफ जी की डेथ हुई है और इनके साथ कोई सहारा नहीं है वाला हिम्मत रखिए साथ हैं हम आपके हिम्मत रखिए प्लीज मैं ये जरूर कहना चाहूँगा जो गवर्नमेंट डेथ रेट दिखा रही है वो बिल्कुल गलत है गवर्नमेंट दिखाती है कि दिन में 200 लोग मर रहे हैं लेकिन ऐसा नहीं है और गवर्नमेंट की तरफ से कुछ नहीं हो रहा है ना ऑक्सीजन की सप्लाई हो रही है ना बेड्स मिल रहे हैं ना वेंटिलेटर्स मिल रहे हैं ना एम्बुलेंस मिल रही है
India is breaking records for contamination. It has become the worldwide epicenter of the virus, a disaster that the man who has been ruling India for 8 years did not see coming. Narendra Modi, the Prime Minister, who declared last January that India had beaten the pandemic.
उस देश ने कोरोना पर प्रभावी नियंत्रण करके पूरी दुनिया को, मानवता को बड़ी त्रासदी से भी बचाया है.
4 months later, India is on its knees. Hospitals are overwhelmed. The sick are dying in the street due to lack of means and organization. Panic in the streets. People are fighting for oxygen tanks and for their survival. 350,000 sick and thousands dying every day, many of them young. Doctors and volunteers like Raman Singh are exhausted. Critics of Modi are becoming increasingly numerous. He has been criticized for permitting the Kumbh Mela, one of the largest religious gatherings in the world, last February. 10 million Hindu pilgrims gathered without masks or any sort of protection. Did he want to appease his electorate? Modi is the leader of the BJP, the ruling Hindu ultranationalist party. Prime Minister since 2014, Narendra Modi inspires confidence as much as fear. Initially seen as liberal and modern, as a father of the nation, he has gradually turned into an Indian guru. Who would guess that behind this reassuring white beard hides a tough, determined man who supports an extremist ideology? This is an unrecognizable India, an India that marches. This is the India that formed Narendra Modi. We gained access to an ultra-secret parliamentary faction, the Hindu Youth. A group intended to train the future elites of the country for a completely Hindu India. With Modi, they have conquered power. No wonder then that now in India, cows are more sacred than ever. Its government invests millions into protection programs and studies on its benefits for humans.
पूरी लाइफ में कोई भी बीमारी नहीं होती due to presence of gold.
Muslims and Christians, considered as cow killers, are punished and lynched by crowds.
मोदी गवर्नमेंट इंडिया में आई है, लोगों के दिलों में, दिमाग में जहर भरा जा रहा है, poison.
Voices of dissent are quickly silenced. Criticizing the government means risking imprisonment.
Like my husband, the first time the NIA people, they brought him from police custody to court, his friend took him.
This lawyer defends dozens of cases just like this one.
People who do not agree with the government and whom the government therefore chooses to call terrorists.
Modi has been accused of exacerbating tensions and dividing the country. Fascist, ultranationalist, dictator. The politician frightens a large portion of the population.
They see Muslims as their enemy.
1 year before the next presidential elections, what is left of the greatest democracy in the world and of this tricolour flag, orange for the Hindus, green for the Muslims, and white for the other religions? Is Modi threatening Gandhi's dream of a united nation? In Modi's India, cows are treated better than men, almost like gods. As soon as he came to power, the Modi government budgeted tens of millions of euros dedicated to their well-being. An hour's drive from New Delhi lies a luxury retreat for some special residents. It's a goshala, a cow shelter. There are 5,000 farms like this one in India. They are subsidized by the state and private donations. This former security guard, a pious Hindu, left his career behind to voluntarily dedicate himself to these cows.
हमारी आस्था है, इनको गौ माता मानते हैं, अपने माँ के बराबर मानते हैं। ऐसे दुखी पा रहे हैं, वो पोलोथीन खा लाते हैं, यहाँ साफ सफाई रखते हैं। पोलोथीन तो कम से कम नहीं ही रहती है और पोलोथीन पचती नहीं है। डॉक्टर बतावें कि उससे भी मर जाती है गाय खा के।
These cows are pampered. Each day their dung is carefully collected as they are considered to work miracles. Every day, the former security guard and his young apprentice get up at 4 a.m. to collect the first urine.
ये मूत्र के लिए।
Top quality urine intended for human consumption.
ये हम लोग को खूब लगता है अनुभव कि इस पर हाथ फेरने से, इनके ऊपर पीठ पर हाथ घुमाने से ईद तो देसी खाना पड़ता है, इसलिए कि और मिक्सर हो गए, इसलिए नहीं तो देसी गाय ही सब चीज़ें में है। डॉक्टर भी बताते हैं।
Indians here believe in the therapeutic benefits of the cow for humans. Dr. Dahir, the head of this farm, develops medicines based on urine and also cow dung. The dung is modified, packaged as granules or capsules, before being sold in pharmacies throughout the country. Dr. Dahir wants to show us the step-by-step process. The smell of urine and ammonia is unbearable. The workers, however, seem used to it.
अब इसमें हमने यूरिन डाला, काऊ यूरिन। अब इसको बॉयल करते हैं। बॉयल करने से इसमें झाग बनते हैं और झाग को यहाँ से अमोनिया गैस निकलती है झाग से, वो निकाल दिए जाते हैं झाग। झाग निकालना इसलिए ज़रूरी है, अगर ये झाग नहीं निकालेंगे तो लीवर पे ये इफ़ेक्ट करते हैं लीवर पर। ये HIV और कैंसर की दवाई बनाते हैं इनमें, और इनमें हम रॉ मटेरियल डालते हैं। जिस दवाई का जो भी है, जैसे ग्वार पत्ता है, हल्दी है या और कोई भी है, वो इसमें डालते हैं और गौमूत्र ज़रूर होता है।
His practice is based on the belief that everything that comes out of the cow is divine. In these tanks, the urine is filtered until it's clear.
Just like water.
He drinks it every day.
अगर देसी आदमी या कोई भी आदमी मूत्र पीता है, मूत्र और घी और दूध उसका लेता है, वो कभी बीमार नहीं होता, नेवर, फॉर एवर। पूरी लाइफ में कोई भी बीमारी नहीं होती उसको, ड्यू टू प्रेजेंस ऑफ गोल्ड, ड्यू टू प्रेजेंस ऑफ गोल्ड इन देयर यूरिन एज वेल एज इन मिल्क, so that this one important for us or for universe, not us but universe.
So you are saying that there is gold inside the cow?
Yeah, oh yeah, it is proved. It is proved and analysis it has gold.
All these beliefs are proclaimed as scientific truths.
This one our stock room, medicine stock room.
Tablets for all sorts of ailments, including liver or digestion issues, and even cough syrups. He sells 3,000 bottles a month, and lately sales have exploded all over the country. Hindu preachers have been promoting cow's urine against coronavirus.
कोरोना वायरस क्या है? ये एक रोग के बैक्टीरिया ही तो होते हैं, तो इससे गौमूत्र से तो अनेक प्रकार के जो दुष्प्रभाव करते हैं, ऐसे सारे कीटाणु नष्ट हो जाते हैं इससे।
Others use cow dung for the same reason. Faced with the growing influence of these ideas, the Indian Medical Association had to intervene.
People should also understand when using an excreta of an cow, which is being considered as a sacred animal, that is bound to increase some zoonotic or infectious disease more.
Today in Modi's India, the belief goes that drinking cow urine and bathing in their dung and milk is beneficial, yet eating their meat can lead to death. In recent years, the issue of cows has led to serious violence. Extreme Hindus will beat to death even those who are just suspected of eating beef, ending up like this 15-year-old boy, lynched by the crowd on a train. He was a Muslim. Muslims, 14% of the population, 200 million Indians, have become clear targets, and Modi is turning up the heat. In 2019, he reforms access to Indian citizenship. The law sets out to limit Muslim access to immigration rights, a measure which Indians of all faiths are demonstrating against.
When non-political individuals, celebrities, students, common people join a cause, it slowly becomes a movement.
Tensions rise and the situation descends into clashes between groups. In New Delhi, Hindu extremists broke into several neighborhoods in the north of the city where many Muslims live. They are armed and spread terror, throwing stones, shooting bullets. The nationalist factions target only Muslims. For 3 days, the inhabitants called for help, but the police and the army who came as reinforcements did nothing. They were even suspected of having participated in the lynchings. They burnt houses to the ground. At the end of the 2 nights and 3 days of murderous madness, the Hindu extremists leave. The death toll is grave. 54 dead, hundreds injured. The sights of the next morning are heartbreaking. 3 districts of the capital have been destroyed. Entire streets with their houses and businesses have been burned down. Thousands of families are now homeless. Parvez Alam lives here. He had to hide at a friend's house. He is an ambulance driver, and when the riots broke out, he was on duty. He saw everything.
2 दिन पहले जब उधर से मोब आ रहे थे दंगाई पूरे आरएसएस और बीजेपी के जो लीडर थे वो उधर से आ रहे थे और वहाँ तक आ रहे थे वो और इधर जो है मुस्लिम कम्युनिटी के लोग थे तो ये दंगा भी नहीं करना चाहते ये हमारे कासिम भाई हैं इधर ही इनका घर यही है इनके घर के भी सारे शीशे तोड़ रखे पूरा नुकसान पहुँचाया गया है
With the mob there were some people who were instructing them to which property to attack and which property to not to attack. So they were targeting only minorities, Muslims' properties.
Parvez is a Muslim. He grew up in this quiet neighborhood where all communities lived in harmony, and like everyone else this morning,
oh my God,
he discovers the damage.
ये अरुण मॉडर्न पब्लिक सेकेंडरी स्कूल है इसमें 25 तारीख के करीब 4 बजे कुछ दंगाई आए उधर से जैसे करीब 5000 लोग आए उन्होंने जो इसमें आग लगा दी.
There is nothing left of the classrooms nor the textbooks. $800 students were enrolled in this public school.
ये घर है मुस्लिम कम्युनिटी का इसको भी जो है दंगाई ने पूरा जला दिया गया आप जैसा कि देख सकते हैं ये इनका घर है आपको ही घर है सामान रखा है यहाँ पर प्लास्टिक है अच्छा तो उसका भी आपका बहुत ज़्यादा नुकसान हुआ है.
अब तो डर ऐसा है कि क्या नाम इसका शायद क्या नाम मैं यहाँ रह भी ना पाऊँ शायद मैं क्या नाम इसका इंडिया छोड़ के आउट ऑफ इंडिया भी जा सकता हूँ मैं सब कुछ बेच के.
तो आपको दिल्ली पुलिस का प्रोटेक्शन नहीं मिल पाया जब
कुछ नहीं दिया कुछ भी नहीं पुलिस ऐसा करा है कि क्या नहीं होता ऐसा करा है कि सोच भी नहीं सकते.
हम 13-14 साल से यहाँ पे रह गए लेकिन यहाँ पे इस तरह का दंगा हमने पहली बार देखा. जो हिंदू यहाँ पे रहते हैं कभी मतलब आपस में सब लोगों का मिलना जुलना बोलचाल सब कुछ है. सोच भी नहीं सकते थे कि एक दिन ऐसा आएगा कि अपना ही घर छोड़ के इंसान निकलेगा यहाँ से.
माई एज 24 ईयर्स लेकिन मैंने अब तक दिल्ली के अंदर ऐसा माहौल नहीं देखा. हर एक आदमी बहुत ही ज़्यादा खौफ खाया हुआ था. हर कम्युनिटी का लोग बहुत ज़्यादा मोहब्बत प्यार से रह रहे थे. लेकिन जब से जो है मोदी गवर्नमेंट इंडिया में आई है लोगों के दिलों में दिमाग में जहर भरा जा रहा है पॉइजन माइंड इन द पॉइजन, हर आदमी के दिमाग में जहर भर दिया गया है। सच में लोग एक दूसरे की जान लेने पर उतावले हो रहे थे। मैं सच बताऊं आपको कि ऐसा माहौल हिंदुस्तान में किसी ने अब तक नहीं देखा था। सच में।
Did the government let Delhi burn? In the aftermath of the clashes, no official has yet come to the scene. The inhabitants are left to their own devices, so they must act. Parvez has filled his ambulance with food and donations he was able to gather.
इधर कोई मदद नहीं आ रही है अभी तक, कोई सरकार की मदद नहीं आ रही है, कोई जो है भारत सरकार की मदद नहीं आ रही, दिल्ली सरकार की कोई मदद नहीं आ रही। तो हम ये सारा सामान उधर ले जाके देंगे लोगों को। उधर छोटे छोटे बच्चे भूखे प्यासे पड़े हुए हैं, उधर कोई मदद नहीं आ रही है।
Parvez is soon stranded in his ambulance. Volunteers are arriving from all over the city to help too, like these men in turbans, Sikhs, another religious minority.
और इधर माहौल बहुत अफरा तफरी का है और बहुत ही ज़्यादा ज़रूरतमंद लोग इधर हैं। ईदगाह पे जाना है।
ईदगाह है ये, ईदगाह नहीं जाओगे, ईदगाह का ये सेंटर वहाँ पे। इसको एक काम करना है, ईदगाह नहीं जा पाओगे क्योंकि आगे बहुत दिक्कत है, भीड़ बहुत ज़्यादा है।
Processions accompany the bodies of the victims in silence. 54 inhabitants were killed. Parvez knows the relatives of this victim.
ये जो बंदा ये रियोट्स में मरा है, रायट्स में। जब इधर दंगा हुआ था तो इसके घर में आग लगा दी गई थी और इसको गोली लगी थी इसको इधर इसको गोली लगी, फायर।
Faced with the absence of the authorities, the inhabitants mobilized. In one day, this camp was organized, a refugee camp in the heart of the Indian capital. Volunteers came from all over the city to set up tents and welcome the homeless families. The whole neighborhood rushes to this makeshift camp, and Parvez is one of the thousands of volunteers on the ground. Tents, food, and doctors to help the injured. And a question on everyone's lips: why didn't the police do anything to prevent this massacre?
दूसरे ना फिर पुलिस आई, पुलिस से कहा हमें निकलवा दो तो नहीं निकलवाया, फिर अपनी मुझसे ही आए। हमारे बाहर के तो लाइन से आग लगा दी गई।
Calm has returned, but nobody feels safe anymore. Parvez is shocked by these stories. He doesn't understand why 3 days of violence were possible in a capital city, in a democracy. He wants to go to the morgue, where the families of the victims are gathered, in anger. They are waiting to recognize the bodies of their loved ones. Everyone here feels abandoned. The families kept the photos of their loved ones, a son, a father, a brother, mutilated, lynched.
दिल्ली पुलिस सही वक्त पे हरकत में आती तो इतना बड़ा जो मामला हुआ है दिल्ली के अंदर वो शायद ना होता।
अंधी हो रही है सरकार,
उनको मारा गया है
जो काम से लौट रहे हैं। कुछ नहीं कि पुलिस ने तो गोली मारी है, पुलिस ने मारी है गोली, पुलिस साथ में है, पूरा प्रशासन उनके साथ है।
Did the police let this happen? Could the government have stopped the violence? Narendra Modi waited 2 days before reacting with a simple tweet, a call for peace and harmony without condemning the assailants. This story reminds us of another one. In 2002, anti-Muslim pogroms orchestrated also by Hindu extremists. The police are accused of passivity, even complicity. 3 days of destruction and murders. The toll is terrible, 2,000 dead. All this in a state led by Narendra Modi. And here again he didn't react and his responsibility was called into question. But his political career is not affected in any way. Who is Narendra Modi? One who swears by the Indian constitution or the ally of extremist Hindus? Modi doesn't accept slander or provocation. To understand his ideology, you have to trace his roots. And it begins in a radical paramilitary group. The RSS, a patriotic organization for Hindu youth, ages 3 to 15. Narendra Modi joined at the age of 8, and this is where most of the members of the ruling BJP did their basic training.
बिल्कुल गलतफहमी हमें नहीं है। हम तो कहते हैं कि 3% लोग केवल हमारे इस विचार में इस तरह लाइनों में बैठना शुरू कर दें, हम सारे देश का चित्र बदल देंगे।
In khaki uniforms, these students must follow a strict routine, raising the saffron flag, which is the color of Hinduism, and learning combat techniques. No interviews are possible here today. We will instead learn about this supremacist ideology elsewhere. We were able to visit a school for girls of the organization during a self-defense class.
Imagine कर लो कोई भी चीजें सोच लो जिस पे आप निशाना ले रहे हो.
Their population is increasing.
The members of this school tell us about their fight for an India without Muslims, enemies they don't bother to name.
हमें हिंदुस्तान में सिर्फ हिंदूवादी लोग चाहिए जो राष्ट्र प्रेमियों अपने राष्ट्र से प्यार करें और प्राय अभी तक यही देखा गया है कि जिस देश में ये बाहुल्य हुए हैं इनकी संख्या ज़्यादा हुई है वहाँ इन्होंने दूसरे धर्म को रहने नहीं दिया. आप अफगानिस्तान देख लीजिए, आप सीरिया देख लीजिए, लेबनान देख लीजिए. तो ऐसे में इसलिए हमें आत्मरक्षा और अपने आप को इतना सक्षम बनाना होगा कि हम किसी भी मुसीबत से आगे लड़ सकें.
तो आप तैयार कर रहे हैं?
जी हाँ, हम उन्हें तैयार कर रहे हैं उस चीज़ की. आने वाले समय के लिए अगर ज़रूरत पड़ेगी तो मैं चाहूँगा कि ये लड़ें उनसे.
These girls belong to the Indian middle class. They come here to get their education as Hindu maids before they get married. A member of the organization came to give a talk. His speech is extreme, but it is what they hear every day.
बोलो भाई, किसी हिंदू को मुसलमान के साथ शादी करना या ईसाई के साथ शादी करना ठीक है, गलत है? अगर जानवर खत्म हो जाए, जानवरों का मांस ना मिले, सब्जी ना मिले, रोटी ना हो, तो इस्लाम धर्म के अंदर महिला को भी काट करके खाना धर्म में माना जाता है. हमारे धर्म में ऐसा है क्या? हमारे धर्म में ऐसा नहीं है. हमारा धर्म महान है.
The RSS movement was formed in the 1920s and was inspired by extreme right-wing organizations such as the German Nazi Party. In his books published in the 1960s, the ideologists behind the Golwalkar organization make eulogistic references to Nazi Germany. Gandhi's murderer in 1948 came from the RSS. After training in this patriotic group, Narendra Modi joined the BJP, an ultra-nationalist party in power since 2014. Is he in charge of applying the supremacist ideology advocated by this organization? We went to meet one of the most loyal of the Prime Minister's supporters. His name is Shiladitya Dev, and he is a deputy and member of the BJP. He's also known for his anti-Muslim views and never travels without his entourage.
Yeah, there were a lot of threats. I got about 400 threat calls during the last 5 years from various Islamic organizations, individuals, and we could not trace the calls because, you know, these days they have this internet calling. You find numbers coming from UK, US, Middle East, Philippines, and all.
In the region, Shiladitya Dev does not hide his pro-Hindu stance. Today, he is campaigning in a district with a Hindu majority. He supports the BJP candidate for the upcoming local elections. For years, the Hindu electorate has been giving speeches about the danger of Muslim life.
এই দেশে 80% হিন্দু ছিল, আজকে সেই 80% থেকে নেমে আমরা এখন 70%দের কাছাকাছি এসে গেছি। আমরা এখন মাইনরিটির দিকে চলে যাচ্ছি। আমাদের অধিকার এখন ছিনিয়ে দিচ্ছে, আমাদের মন্দিরের মাটি চলে যাচ্ছে, আমাদের সত্রর মাটি চলে যাচ্ছে, আমাদের মহিলারা এখন নিরাপত্তা পাচ্ছেন না।
Playing on fear, today the speech is tailored to its audience. Only women have been summoned to hear their deputy.
पूरा देश पे खतरा है हिंदू समाज को। यदि वापस कांग्रेस सरकार आ जाएगा तो पूरा हिंदू समाज को खतरा है भारतवर्ष में। See, they have divided this country on the basis of religion before, and they will further destroy this country on the basis of religion.
For these voters, Shiladitya Dev represents the voice and project of their Prime Minister Narendra Modi.
ये हमारा हिंदू राष्ट्र ही चाहिए, क्योंकि हम लोग सब इंडियन हैं। हम लोग इधर जो हिंदू राष्ट्र जो बनाएगा वो एक मात्र लक्ष्य है हमारा बीजेपी सरकार, मोदी सरकार का ही लक्ष्य है।
मोदी जी चाहिए। भगवान देवता, मोदी जी देवता, मोदी जी देवता।
Shiladitya Dev joined the BJP 30 years ago, with Narendra Modi as his idol and role model.
This is a memento which I made after the elections. So people who worked with me, they said, Modi is a favorite person. This is 2015. He came as a Prime Minister, and I accompanied him to many meetings, and I was escorting him rather, and he just hold me very tight, put my face with his face tightly like this, and as if the entire country has come to a standstill. I was holding the Prime Minister of the country for a minute. It means the entire country was standstill sort of.
Shiladitya Dev also joined the ranks of the patriotic organization in his youth. He trained there like Modi. Then he joined the BJP.
Yeah, this is when I was in the youth wing of the Bharatiya Janata Party. We organized this hunger strike in Delhi. Our issue was illegal infiltration. It's a threat to the Indian culture, the Assamese culture, our land, our political rights.
And religion in a way.
And religion, of course, because Bangladeshi, they are Islamic people. So they come here, they practice Islam, they convert the people who are here, who practice Hinduism or Sanatan Dharma, and it becomes a real problem.
Nationalists seem to be obsessed by the fear of losing their Hindu identity. It is not enough to fight against immigration. They must reclaim territories and populate them with good, patriotic and religious Hindus, and for that they have to create a pure race. In the state of Gujarat, ruled for 13 years by Narendra Modi, this city centre, which looks more like a vacation club financed by the health branch of the RSS movement, attracts families for a very strange promise: to birth perfect and superior children. In these huts, couples come to conceive their future prodigy. Dr. Nawani theorized and developed a program that mixes religion, diet and indoctrination.
यज्ञ છે તો એ છે કે એક સારી આત્મા ગર્ભમાં કેમ આવે કે શરીર શુદ્ધિ નાડી શુદ્ધિ આ બધું કમ્પ્લીટ થયા પછી આજનો જે તમારો સંસ્કાર છે કે જે તમને કરાવવાનો છે કે આપણે સારા આત્માને કેમ લાવી શકીએ.
She opened this centre 15 years ago. Regardless if the method works or not, the message is pleasing enough: to conceive a perfect little Hindu. Today we meet Soni, 25 years old, and Rajesh, 27. The ceremony is organised by a Hindu priest. The dates of their stay have been planned by an astrologer. They will stay here for 7 days to conceive their child. To help them in their cause, the couple must throw dried urine and cow dung into the fire. The word science is used a lot here, but it doesn't have the same meaning as elsewhere. It is the science of the Vedas, which comes from sacred texts.
એના માટેની આ પ્રક્રિયા એટલે ગર્ભાધાન સંસ્કાર એટલે એના માટે આ રિચ્યુઅલને ફોલો કરવાની છે બરાબર એટલે આટલું આમાં વૈજ્ઞાનિકતા છે માટેનો સમય કે એકચ્યુઅલી તો નક્કી થઈ જાય કે એને જ્યારથી માસિક સ્રાવની શરૂઆત થાય ત્યારથી એની દિનચર્યા કેવી હોય એની અસર એના બીજાણુ ઉપર કઈ રીતે પડે.
Behind this atmosphere of peace and tranquility lies the Hindu supremacist thought that is put into practice, the idea of purifying the Indian people. Once pregnant, women follow the program so that their child will be a perfect Hindu, pious, intelligent and patriotic. Dr. Nawani has already opened a dozen clinics throughout the country. Several thousand children have been born through this project. She receives dozens of patients every day and promises them the birth of a prodigy for €800. Her program starts well before pregnancy in repairing damaged genes. For 9 months, the future parents follow a draconian food protocol, a purifying diet.
ડાયટ ને એ જ રીતે ફોલો થઈ રહ્યું છે दूध की प्रॉपरली लेवाय છે
जो आलमंड वाળું दूध
હા
બરાબર થોડોક નાસ્તો લાઈટ
બરાબર
શેકેલા મમરા કે પૌવા કેવું કાંઈ
બરાબર છે
બહુ કોક દિવસ હોય તો ખાખરો થોડોક ખાવું છું
બરાબર.
Dr. Nawani asks all these patients to read the religious texts, the same texts that serve as a reference for Hindu nationalists.
श्रीमद् भगवत गीता पढ़ी है कभी?
हाँ उसकी पढ़ रही हूँ सीख रही हूँ.
अच्छा.
According to her, her sacred texts are informed by true science.
है ना? उन्होंने फॉलो तो किया था, तब सब ओबीडियंट थे, उसकी वजह से वो फॉलो कर लेते थे. लेकिन आज क्या है कि आज क्वेरी उठती है, लॉजिक चाहिए, साइंस चाहिए. What is the science before this?
Fighting logic, it is indeed brainwashing, but for what purpose? Once her mission is accomplished, Dr. Nawani advises parents to put their children in appropriate schools, schools financed by the infamous RSS, the paramilitary organization. There are 2,500 of them today. We went to one of them. All the parents follow the program, and they tell us how well it works to get perfect children.
એક બાળક છે ને 8 વર્ષનું છે, બેબી છે. ત્યારે હું ન આવતી, પછી આ બાબા વખતેથી મેં ચાલુ કર્યું ત્યારે એટલે બેમાં મને એ જોવા મળે કે એ તોફાની આ સરસ આમ શાંત છે, વ્યવસ્થિત બધું અને હોશિયારી છે એનાથી નહીં.
What happens to these toddlers afterwards? They are taught by the headmistress, who is also a fervent patriot, and who will show us this map that summarizes the purpose of all these efforts, to return to the ancestral, ideal, reunified and 100% Hindu India.
આખું જે આપણામાં બાંગ્લાદેશ હતું, બર્મા હતું, શ્રીલંકા હતું, પાકિસ્તાન છે, અફઘાનિસ્તાન છે, એ આખું પહેલાં એક ભારત જ હતું. પછી ધીમે ધીમે જુદા જુદા ભાગ, પછી બધાના ભાગ પડીને પોતાના અલગ અલગ દેશ બનાવ્યા. બરાબર છે. અમે તો એવો પ્રયત્ન કરીએ છીએ કે બધા એક સાથે પહેલાં જેમ હતા એમ જ પાછા ફરીથી બધા બની જાય એક મતથી અને ફરી પાછું એક હિન્દુ. મોદીજી પણ એક ભારતને આપણે જે અખંડ એનું પણ એવું જ છે કે અખંડ ભારત બને, ભારત સમર્થ વિશ્વ કક્ષાએ પણ એનો ડંકો વાગે.
Due to increasing sentiment in favor of the ultranationalists, it's hard to be critical. And when you try to be critical, it can end very badly. Like in the case of this photographer. His goal, to photograph women wearing cows' heads and make a statement that in India, the life of a woman is worth less than that of a cow, a way to denounce the drift into sectarianism characterized by this worshipping of cows. Sujatra Ghosh's photos caused a scandal. His speech too. He regularly denounces lynchings and Muslims executed in the name of protecting cattle. The artist was harassed and threatened with death, forcing him to flee India. He lives in Berlin, Germany. We managed to find him. Today, Sujatra Ghosh is a political refugee. He lives in this small apartment, far from his family in Calcutta. He is accused of conveying an unpatriotic feeling in his photography and is now seen as a traitor to the state.
But this is a picture probably which is my favorite. This is in Varanasi, and this is one of the states where the cow is worshipped. This place is very iconic. This is also one of the hub of politics as well as the hub of religion in the country, Varanasi. I think in my country, cattle is more important than women. And if you really see that in India, there's a rape in every 15 minutes. If you look at the conviction rates, it's really saddening.
After this project, the threats intensified until they became unbearable for the young photographer. He now fears for the lives of his family and friends.
In Calcutta, Calcutta was starting to have a new wave of Hindutva ideologies coming in, whereas growing up in the city, it was never like that. I have had friends from every part of the spectrum. So things started getting more agitated, and there was an instant where people started following me back home. Realities kind of changed since 2014. The current establishment has a prime minister who's accused of killing people, who's accused of a pogrom. There's a sense of fear in people and artists who tend to speak out against the government.
The fear is ending up in a prison in India for an indefinite period. For a year now, not a week has gone by without the announcement of someone being arrested, whether a well-known activist or an ordinary citizen. This is what happened to this family in New Delhi. Hani Babu, an English professor at the University of New Delhi, was imprisoned 6 months earlier. His wife and daughter have not seen him since. The academic was arrested after a conference. An ardent defender of human rights, he had been supporting activists unjustly imprisoned for several weeks. He is also Muslim.
Like my husband, the first time the NIA people, they brought him from police custody to court, his friend took this. He's also a lawyer, he took this. I really, even now I can't believe this is happening. Sometimes I wonder whether it's really true. It's like unthinkable.
The Indian Secret Service searches the family home. Jenny and her 15-year-old daughter, Fazana, watch.
There were 20 policemen in this house. We couldn't contact anyone from outside because they took away our phones. I tried to go to the washroom. They came after me and physically took away the phone from me. They took away her phone and they kept it aside, and they kept searching the entire house. What is very interesting is that they kept videographing the books that we are reading, as if it is a crime to read books. And then they took away his laptop. They took away some pamphlets that is related to another professor who was arrested. Babu was working for his rights, human rights, and kept us inside for 6 hours. You go by what is right.
And for 50 days, they received no news until the first letter.
My dearest Jenny and my Puppu darling, after writing to both of you almost every day in mind, I am able to write on paper today as I finally managed to get a book. I am in a solitary cell with a toilet and a bath at one end. They don't even let me outside of the cell. I am going on about myself, but I am all the while thinking of both of you. I feel guilty of... I feel guilty.
I feel guilty of having abandoned both of you, but I'm sure both of you are resilient enough and that together we can fight this injustice no matter how long it takes. It's bad. I mean, they're like arresting anyone they want to, and they just like they take one person and then whatever case they have, they just like put the blame on that, and it's terrible.
The government accuses the university of terrorism, Marxist conspiracy, and of having organized riots 6 years earlier, in a city where he has never been. Fazana was heartbroken. Jenny, also a university teacher, gave up her job to take care of her daughter and organize her husband's defense. After 6 months of waiting, they finally got permission to see him. This morning, they leave for Bombay, to the south of the country, where he is imprisoned.
This is the big shopper. I have all the things, the shorts, Then my daughter wanted to keep an eye mask because they don't turn off the lights in jail. It's always on, 24 hours. You never get darkness there.
They'll take the train, the cheapest route, 16 hours of travel. They are fighting against a formidable force, an anti-terrorist law that allows anyone to be incarcerated without an arrest warrant.
This is a train, no?
This law has become Modi's weapon to silence critics and dissenting voices. There, they will also meet their lawyer. They still hope for an imminent outcome. A long journey awaits them. After a day and a night of travel, Jenny and Farzana arrive at their destination, Bombay, a megalopolis of 20 million inhabitants.
Ammi Bombay le tita. Taloja jail le poa.
In less than an hour, they will be at the doors of the prison.
Yeah, even I am hoping that there is some chance we can meet him.
Only one visit is allowed. Jenny has given priority to her daughter, but they will request for both of them to see him. These activists and intellectuals have been detained since 2017 and placed in this prison outside of Mumbai. Some are in solitary confinement, others in ordinary cells. 50 prisoners on average per room with mattresses on the floor. After 6 hours of waiting at the gates of the prison, Jenny was able to see her husband.
We met him. Yeah. Huh? Yeah. Both of us. Actually, only one of us is allowed to go, but then I kept asking that lady, told her that I'm from Delhi. Then I started to cry and all, then she agreed. She said, okay, just go and look, but then we talked for a long time. We talked for at least half an hour, no?
No, 5 minutes.
5 minutes? No, not 5.
Not half an hour for sure. He told me about his, like how it was, and then he asked me about my thing. I mean, how I am, and we just like talked for some time, and then she came, which was unexpected, but it was nice.
We really saw him in after 6 months, no? Come. Go. No.
They don't know when they'll be able to see him again and how much longer he'll have to stay in prison. They expect to get answers from the lawyer. That evening, they have a meeting with him on the other side of town.
When they are produced, when we'll see when they are produced.
They came to see Master Yugs. He represents other families, all of whom have seen their loved ones suddenly arrested and imprisoned under the anti-terrorist law. Activists as well as school teachers. It is difficult to counter this powerful rule of the state. He is not very optimistic.
Babu's case is one of the most extreme examples that I have seen till date of false implication in a terror case. I have not the slightest doubt in my mind that the case against Hani is totally fabricated. And this is a terror case which is, which has very severe consequences on the prisoner and also on the family. It leaves a stigma. This is a law which is designed to keep people in jail. What kind of people? People who do not agree with the government and whom the government therefore chooses to call terrorists.
Have you seen many cases growing like this past year?
Yes, a large number, a very large number. Unfortunately, a very, very large number. Whether that person is a politician, whether that person is a social activist, whether that person is a teacher, it doesn't matter. The government has systematically gone after people who disagree with it. It is unprecedented what has happened. I've never seen this happening before. Unfortunately, what is happening is that the judiciary is also supporting Modi.
Do you have hope that you can have a bail soon?
No. Unfortunately, no. That is the nature of the UAPA law. It keeps you in jail till the trial is over. He stays in jail for a long time. There is no light at the end of the tunnel. We are struggling to find something. We are waiting to see. Let us see. Right now, I have nothing in my hands.
How long can people stay in jail?
6 years, 8 years, 10 years. I've had clients who stayed in jail 14 years.
The two women leave for Delhi, exhausted and powerless. How far can the nationalist madness of the Hindu extremists go? We travel further, to the edge of India, to a state that is conducting a unique experiment. In Assam, a rural state bordering Bangladesh, 2 million Indians have had their nationality taken away. They have become stateless. Here, Modi's men have succeeded in a tour de force, legalizing the process of excluding Muslims. It all started 3 years ago. The state launches a wide-scale census campaign. The inhabitants have to prove that they arrived in India before 1971, the year when millions of refugees came from Bangladesh in the middle of the civil war. Unofficially, the goal is to fight against illegal immigration, but everyone sees through the goal of the Hindu nationalists to attack religious minorities. This is when A.J. Bashar Ali's life changed overnight. He was declared a suspected illegal immigrant.
এই জায়গায় জন্ম এই মাটির জন্ম আমার বিদেশি হলে তো আমি পলে গেলাম হয় যে জামিন দিলে আমি পলে গেলাম হয় দুঃখ লাগছে বিদেশি দুঃখ করে একটা কেস হলে আমার মনে দুঃখ লাগছে
The farmer is summoned by the police to present his papers. Like everyone else, he has to prove that he arrived before 1971. But illiterate and without a lawyer nor money, his file is incomplete.
তো এনআরসি কার্ড ৬৬ কার্ড ৭১ হয় মাটির কাগজ হয় সব এখানে হয়
Without the power to defend himself, he was arrested one morning at his home and put in prison.
আমার এই ধরনের মানুষ তো দোষ করিনি আমার জেলত পড়ার সাথে আমরা শূন্য হয়ে গেলাম কি দোষ করলাম কি দোষে আমার জেলত ফেললাম
In order to free him and pay his lawyer's fees, his wife sold their land and livestock. But that was not enough. Ali remained in prison. After 2 years of waiting, riddled with debt and without income, his wife committed suicide.
তো কেস হাইকোর্টে হারিয়ে গেলাম সুপ্রিম কোর্ট করানোকে বহুত পয়সা লাগে এই জন্য টেনশনত নিজের মন নিয়ে যে হয়েছে সুইসাইড হয়ে
He was released after 2 years. He now lives with his son, his daughter-in-law and his grandchildren, with the fear of losing them at any moment if he does not manage to re-establish his nationality. He is still considered an illegal immigrant, and he is not the only one. 1,000 Indians have already been imprisoned for this reason, and soon many more. The government has published a list. Nearly 2 million people who have lost their nationality are now liable to be arrested and imprisoned at any time. Zaki Hussain is a lawyer and a Muslim. His family has been in India for several generations. Some of his cousins and uncles have lost their citizenship. Furious, he fights to free those who have become de facto stateless.
उन लोगों को नोटिस दिया गया है इनमें से ज़्यादातर लोग बहुत लोग ऐसा हुआ है कि एक्सपर्टिंग हो गया है केसेस उसके चलते कैंप में है कुछ लोगों का केस में जस्टिफिकेशन नहीं हुआ है उनका जो राय आना चाहिए था वो नहीं आया है
Indians who were born on this land and are now locked up in camps. This is the Assam government's solution.
Detention center এটা বানায় আছে না ইয়াতে আগত কিমান আগত যাব লাগিব
10 detention camps are currently under construction.
Towards right, we should go to towards right, now to detention center.
One of them is almost finished. Zaki Hussain takes us there to show us what the government has planned. Here it is, built in the middle of nowhere, far from cities, far from prying eyes. Impossible to get authorization to film or official information, so we take advantage of the workers' day off to get inside. A supervisor is present today. Zakir Hussain introduces himself as a lawyer and the man tells him what he knows. A school for the children of the detainees. An important piece of information for the lawyer that confirms his fears. These camps could accommodate entire families in prison conditions. The guard shows him the rooms where the prisoners will sleep.
नहीं, ये फर्स्ट इम्प्रेशन बोल के तो इसको देख के मैं थोड़ा सा घबराया हुआ हूँ बोलने के लिए। देखिए, अगर उन लोगों का प्रॉपर रिप्रेजेंटेशन नहीं हुआ, डिस्पाइट हैविंग प्रॉपर डॉक्यूमेंट्स, तो उन लोगों को यहाँ पे लाके तो रखा जाएगा। और ये होगा कि जो बेसिकली पुअर एंड सोशली बैकवर्ड पर्सन फ्रॉम रिमोट एरियाज, तो उन लोगों को ही यहाँ पे लाया जाएगा. They will be detained here.
And only Muslims, as they cannot be regulated since the citizenship reform. How long will the detainees stay here? Years, according to the lawyer, as Bangladesh does not want to take in those who until now were Indian. Zakir Hussain fears one thing above all: that what is happening here serves as an example for the Narendra Modi government and ends up being applied across the whole country. It's starting in Uttar Pradesh, one of the poorest states in India, also ruled by the BJP. Faced with the nationalist government, courageous people are speaking up. Like Parvez, a young ambulance driver who witnessed the riots in New Delhi, at 26 years old, he got involved in politics.
हिंदू मुस्लिम सब ऑल कम्युनिटी के युवाओं को आगे बढ़कर जो है अपने देश की रक्षा भी करनी होगी और अपने देश को आगे भी बढ़ाना होगा. तो मैं उसी कड़ी को आगे बढ़ाते हुए अपने देश के लिए कुछ करना चाहता हूँ.
Parvez campaigned in his hometown, a district of 40,000 people, with a Muslim majority. He is the youngest candidate. He is not linked to any party and defends the pluralism and secularism of the Indian constitution.
और आपको और भी ज़्यादा शायद अच्छा लगता है. लेकिन भाई परवेज के साथ हमारा हिमायत का ऐलान है. अगर आप हमें मजबूत करोगे, सच में हमने आज तक खानदान कुर्बात जात बिरादरी नहीं देखी. हमने इंसानियत के लिए काम किया और आखिरी सांस तक इंसानियत के लिए काम करेंगे.
The big day has arrived. In this region marked by high illiteracy, candidates are represented by symbols. Parvez chose the wooden sandal in reference to those worn by Gandhi. He attends the counting of each ballot.
कैरम की एक, कोर्ट की दो, खड़ाऊ की 59.
Parvez has just been elected, and he can't help but show his content. A role model in a country still largely dominated by the ultra-nationalist party. Despite the influence, despite the pressure, despite the fanaticism, many, including lawyers, artists and young people, are fighting for democracy. Despite the risks, more and more are disobeying and mobilizing.